Yeah, I've already taken my measurement. This one is for the back belt, which is this. But this one's from here to here is for the crossing belt. And remember, we are working on size 43, but the size is not written on it. Yeah, we will start with the crossing belt. Then you make one chain. You make a knot. Then we're starting from the back so that you make this crossing belt first before this one. So we're starting from here. So you're going to work 8 rows of first belt, then the other belt 8 rows. So if you count from here, we'll start the belt. You will start the chain from here. So we count from here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can see it. So for this first belt, we'll end here. So for the second belt, we will start from the second to the last hole. Second to the last hole of the first belt. So from here, we cut it half. So we're using the inner one for the first belt, for the back belt, for this side, then the outer one for the completion of the first belt. Then you work 31 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So continue until work 31 chains. Yeah, this is the 31 chain I made, and you can see the half stitch I got for the belt, and I will use it for ending of this first belt. So then you fix here. Then on the next stitch, you single crochet. Then you turn. So you crochet on the chain we made, single crochet all through. Then we fix. So remember, we cut half of the stitch for the first row. Here. Single crochet. Then for the second row, we crochet on full stitch. You can see. So you can see the stitches. This first and second one I left, I'll be using it for the completion of this first, the belt, this front belt here. So once you turn, you single crochet on the next row. Then on the next stitch, we are going to cut half of the stitch. We'll be using the outer part of the stitch. You can see it. single crochet. So the same thing. Sorry. So you can see. Then on the last stitch, you crochet on the full stitch. Then you single crochet on the first and second stitch of the sew. Then you turn. So once you turn, you jump the first row, crochet on the next row, single crochet on full stitch. Then on the next stitch, you cut half of the stitch, crochet on the inner part, you can see the shape. So you continue. Then on the last stitch, you crochet on full stitch. Then you single crochet on the first and second stitch of the sew. Then you turn. Next stitch, crochet on the next stitch, on the full stitch. Then on the next stitch, cut half of the stitch, the outer part, single crochet. So you can see we've already worked on 3 rows. So this is the 4th row. So you work extra 5 rows plus this 3 row, making it 8 rows. So continue with that. Yeah, at the end of row 6, so we single crochet on the first stitch of the sew. Then to start row 7, we're going to cut half of the stitch. So like we started from here, you can see we cut half of the stitch on the 7th row. So I'll be using this outer row for the back belt, as for the crossing belt, for the second crossing belt. So the same thing is applicable on the last row, which is the 8th row. You cut half of the stitch to end. So you continue with that. But for this side, I will crochet on full stitch because this is the last belt for the back, for this corner. But this one is for the front belt for this corner. So at the end of 7th row, you crochet on the full stitch of the sew, full stitch. So to start the last row, which is the 8th row, we also crochet on the full stitch. That is to start the 8th row. So we are going to slip stitch and stitch. Then you turn, single crochet, Then you cut half of the stitch. So at the end of 8th row, which is the last row, so you cut half of the stitch on the sew. You slip stitch. Then you make one chain. I see. So you can see these 2 stitches I left for the back belt. So for the crossing belt, we start from here, work 31 chains. Yeah, you can see it. So remember, we'll be working on the full stitch. So you don't cut the stitch, work on the full stitch on the sew. So we are going to crochet on the remaining half of the stitch for this side, the one we left for the back belt. So you slip knit. Then on the remaining half of the stitch, half stitch we left, you single crochet. Then you turn. So you are going to jump the 2 holes, the first and second hole, then start single crocheting on the next hole. So you single crochet all through on the chain. So we crochet exactly what we did on this first belt. So we did the same on the second crossing belt. Work 8 row. So remember, we crochet on the inner part, as in by cutting half of the stitch. That's what gave it this design. That's it. Yeah, you can see it. So we are done for the crossing belt. So for the back belt, this. So it starts from here. Work 47 chains. Yeah, you can see it. So remember, the number of chain depends on the size of the person's leg. So you can also use tape to measure it, as in the measuring tape. Then you fix. Then on the next stitch, you single crochet. Then you turn. So we're going to single crochet on the chains. So you single crochet to the end of the chain. So at the end, you crochet on the first and second stitch of the sew. Then you turn. So you jump the first hole, crochet on the next hole, crochet on full stitch. Then remember our normal pattern, crochet on half stitch on the next hole, half stitch, half stitch. So continue with that. That's it. So at the end, you single crochet on full stitch of the sew. Then on the next second stitch, single crochet. Then you turn. So once you turn, you jump the first row, crochet on the next row, jump this, crochet on this. Then on the next row, you single crochet on half stitch. So continue single crocheting on the half stitch. So you continue with that until you work 12 rounds of single crochet. 12 rounds of single crochet. Yeah, this is what you will have at the end. That's it. So the next thing now is to fix the back belt. So we count out 6 holes from the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we start from here. But before that, you make your knot. Then you work 34 chains. 34 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So continue until you work 34 chains. Yeah, you can see it. Then after that, you single crochet on the chain. So we are going to jump the first one and start crocheting on the next one, so that it will remain 33 chains. Yeah, you can see it. So we single crochet on the first and second stitch of this belt. And the next stitch, still crochet. So once you turn, we are going to jump that 2 stitches. So jump the 2 stitches, 1, 2, then start crocheting on the next. So always jump the 2 stitches once you crochet on 2 stitches of this belt. Once you turn, you jump the 2 stitches and continue single crocheting. But remember, we are crocheting on half stitch. So you crochet on half stitch. So at the end, you make 1 chain, then you turn, continue crocheting on the half stitch. So you continue with that until you work 7 rows of single crochet. We are now on the 3rd row, so you work 7 rows. Remember, once you reach here, crochet on 1st and 2nd stitch of this belt, then turn, jump the 2 stitches. Then once you reach here, you make 1 chain, then turn. Yeah, at the end of 7th round, you have this. So the next thing is to fix our short, to make our short belt. You work 17 chains, that's it. Then count out 6 holes from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you start crocheting on the next hole. You slip knit. Then on the next hole, single crochet. So you continue single crocheting, exactly what we did on this first belt. So you work 7 rows of single crochet. Yeah, at the end you have this. That's it. So the next thing now is to fix your buckle here. So this is the buckle, we are going to fix it here. Just stitch it round. Yeah, you can see it. Then after that you buckle up.